So Bohr basically gave us the three postulates. Postulates means assumption. Okay, on the basis of those assumptions, he gave us an idea why this is the case. So the first postulate was, nothing new was there in first postulate. Electron moves in a circular orbit around the nucleus under the influence of an electrostatic force. Of course, I just told you that there is nothing new in the first postulate, and because this idea was also given by Rutherford. Okay. Then the second postulate was there. Only certain orbits are stable. Yes, this is very important. These are the orbits in which electrons does not radiate any kind of energy, right? That means there are certain orbits in which when the electrons revolve, they do not radiate energy, and we call those orbits as stable orbits. Okay. Then that energy is fixed and stationary. So each orbit possesses a fixed energy which is stationary. Yes, this point is important. Classical mechanics may be used to describe the electron's motion in these stable orbits. That means how we are going to use the classical mechanics. If this is the nucleus and this is the radius of orbit in which this electron is revolving, right? Then the second postulate says that angular momentum of the electron, angular momentum of the electron is integral multiple of h by 2 pi. You know that what is h? H is Planck's constant. Okay, and how we calculate the angular momentum is mass of electron, velocity of electron, then radius of orbit will be equal to nh by 2 pi. So here you can have an idea that what if the electron is revolving in the first orbit, in the second orbit, in the third orbit, and this is described by this n. N is known as principal quantum number. Right. So n may be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on, depending on the orbit number, in which orbit that electron is moving. Okay. Then he gave the third assumption. Radiation is emitted or absorbed if an electron moves between energy levels. Yes, as he said that each orbit has its own fixed stationary, energy. Like if this is the first orbit, this is the second orbit, and so on, right? This orbit had some energy, this orbit had some energy, right? So radiation is emitted or absorbed when the electron changes its orbit. If I say that electron is here, some of the electrons are in this orbit, okay, let me call this as first orbit and this as second orbit, right? If electron moves from first orbit through second orbit, or if electron moves from second orbit to first orbit, then the energy will be involved in that transition, I can say. So where I need to give the energy and where the energy will be emitted depends on the values of the energy levels of those orbits, right? If I say for the first level, like you can see in the diagram, for the first level energy is something E1, and for the second level energy is something E2, right? E2 is greater than E1. If E2 is greater than E1, and if the electron need to jump from energy level 1 to 2, it needs to absorb certain amount of energy, right? Because at that time in that orbit that electron doesn't have that much amount of energy to get into the E2, right? So it needs to absorb certain amount of energy. But if reverse is the case, if electron need to go from 2 to 1, so for 2 energies already have the higher value. So what will happen if electron jump from 2 to 1, it needs to emit some amount of energy, because when it jumps to even, it does not need that amount of energy to revolve in that orbit, as simple as that. Okay. So yeah, if electron is emitting the energy, then that electron is emitting that energy in the form of photon. Now we have seen, no, in the previous slides, what is the energy of photon? It is h nu. It is further given by hc by lambda, right, where nu is the frequency and lambda is the wavelength. Okay. Now the frequency of the photon emitted is related to the difference in the energy levels according to Planck-Einstein formula, right. We know that energy is h nu, right. So what is the energy emitted depends what will be the frequency. If the value of energy is changed, that means value of frequency will also be changed. Okay. So here how do we calculate the energy difference and the frequency, right. In the diagram you can see this electron is jumping from this orbital to this orbit, right. Okay. So let me call this as initial orbit and this as final orbit, right. So the change in energy will be E initial minus E final, and of course photon is getting radiated. So the energy difference will be h into f. You can say h into nu, nu is also frequency, you can represent frequency with f as well. So h into f will be the energy difference. So that much amount of energy will be released and that much amount of frequency will be radiated, right. Okay. So here if an electron is revolving in the orbit, right, around the nucleus, so it possesses two types of energies, right. One is kinetic energy and other is electrostatic potential energy. Okay. So the total energy possessed by that electron will be kinetic energy plus potential energy, right. Now we are going to see what are the values for those energies, what are the values for velocity in that orbit, then what are the values for radius of the orbit and so on. Okay. So like I have just told you that the total energy will be the addition of kinetic energy and potential energy. We know that kinetic energy is half mv square, where m is mass of electron, v is velocity, and potential energy is electrostatic potential energy, which is given by k E square by r. So here centripetal force is due to electrostatic force, so we can equate that. Okay. We know that the value for centripetal force is mv square by r, which is equal to electrostatic force k E square by r square, and we know what is that k. K is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, right, where epsilon naught is the permittivity, okay, of free space. So we are adjusting here half and we get this on the right hand side. So the kinetic energy here is half k E square by 2r. Let me call this equation as equation 2. Okay. So we have total energy, as in the previous slide we have seen, right. In the previous slide we have seen this is total energy, half mv square minus k E square by r. Here we have derived this value for kinetic energy. We have substituted this value in the first one, so we get the total energy as minus k E square by 2r. Okay. Now with the help of postulate 2, we have the value for V as NH by MR. When we square both side, we get this value. Okay, we call this equation as equation 3, and then using equation 2, squaring both side we get this. Then we will equate this third and fourth equation to get the value for r. R is radius of orbit. Now here again n is equal to 1, 2, 3, so on. So n is principal quantum number or orbit number we can say. So for n is equal to 1, if we put n is equal to 1, the smallest radius will be, for n is equal to 1, we call that radius as Bohr's radius, denoted by a naught. And when you actually calculate these values, as you can see, h is constant, m is constant, k is constant, and e square is also constant. So when you calculate this value, you get this as 0.0529 Newton meter. So this is called as Bohr's radius. Now using this Bohr's radius, we will modify the formula for energy like this. So we have just put a naught n square instead of Rn in the equation of the total energy, and again when you put the value for a naught over there, you get this total result as minus 13.6 by n square in electron volt, not in joules. Okay. Again n is principal quantum number. When you put n equal to 1, you will get the energy for the first orbit. When you put n is equal to 2, you will get the energy in the second orbit, and so on. So here are the different energy levels, right. So like we have just seen, if n is equal to 1, that means for the first orbit, for the ground state, the energy is minus 13.6 electron volt. For the first excited level, that means n is equal to 2, that energy is minus 3.4 electron volt. For the second excited state, that means n is equal to 3, that energy is minus 1.51 electron volt. Then for n equal to 4, energy is this, for n equal to 5, energy is this, and so on. As we have seen that if we have energy in the first orbit, energy in the second orbit, let me call this as nth and mth orbit. Okay. So I will have this value as minus 13.6 divided by n square. This value will be minus 13.6 divided by m square, like that. And if an electron jumps from n to m orbit, right, n to m, so what will be the energy difference in that case? So obviously the energy difference will be En minus Em, right. So if minus 13.6 we get in common, you will have this value as 1 by n square minus 1 by m square, right. Or if you want to remove that negative part, you can say it's 13.6 1 by m square minus 1 by n square. This way, this will be the amount of energy which will be emitted when the electron jump from nth energy level to mth energy level, and on the basis of that you can calculate the frequency, right. So further they have introduced Rydberg's constant in the equation. So how, let me tell you, the energy released, like we have seen, energy released is equal to (13.6), right, into 1 upon lower energy level square, right. So I denote it as lower energy level square minus 1 upon higher energy level square, like that. Okay. Now we know that this energy emitted is energy of photon. I can call it as hc by lambda. Yeah, and of course this is in electron volt we are talking about. So 13.6 into again 1 upon lower energy square minus 1 upon a higher energy square. So for 1 upon lambda, we need to take this on this side, hc, 1 upon lower energy square minus 1 upon higher energy square. So this value is again a constant, and this is called as Rydberg's constant. It came from this expression, right? When you calculate this value and this value, you will get the same result. As you can see here, there is also k square by 2 a naught, right, which gave us the value of this 13.6 by n square. So you can compare that too. So when you calculate this value, you will get 1.097 into 10 to the power 7 per meter. So further, the wavelength emitted, right, is given by R into 1 upon lower energy level square minus higher energy level square completed. So this becomes the formula, right? Okay. Then, so for this Bohr works, like Bohr demonstrated an agreement of these two quantities to a precision of about 1%, and regarded the crowning achievement of his quantum theory of hydrogen. So yes, it was his achievement to compare those two quantities. So now here is the conclusion what we have seen. If electron jumps from lower energy level to higher energy level, some energy should be absorbed. If electron jumps from lower energy level to higher energy level, right, here lower energy level to higher energy level, that means we know that the higher energy level needs to be satisfied, right? So it needs an extra amount of energy, so electron absorb the energy. But when the reverse is the case, if electron jumps from higher energy level to lower energy level, then for lower energy level it needs a small amount of energy to revolve in the orbit, so the excessive amount of energy gets radiated in the form of photon. So on the basis of the lower energy level, higher energy level transitions, some of the series were defined by different scientists. So the first series was the Lyman series, where the lower energy level is 1 and the higher energy level is from 2 up to n. For Balmer series, lower energy level is 2 and the higher energy level is from 3 up to n. For Paschen series, lower energy level is 3 and higher energy level is from 4 up to n. That way. Again, some series are there, like after Paschen there is bracket series, there is P-Fund series, and so on. And according to your n value, like if you have E is equal to minus 13.6 by n square, right, according to your n value, if you put n is equal to 1, you get the first energy level. If you put n is equal to 2, you get the second energy level. N is equal to 3, third energy level. N is equal to 4, fourth energy level, and so on. So this is the energy of ground state of hydrogen atom, and these are the energies of excited states, right? So this is basically the energy level of hydrogen atom.